Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is the long-awaited book adaptation of the treasured young adult series of the same name by Ewan Colfer, released worldwide on the Disney Plus streaming service following the continued closure of many cinema chains. Directed by the renowned Sir Kenneth Branagh and starring Colin Farrell, Josh Gad, Dame Judi Dench and Ferdia Shaw, who makes his screen acting debut as the title character, Artemis Fowl is in every sense the epitome of a disaster. Artemis Fowl is a clunky, stilted and just plain terrible piece of filmmaking that it is both as baffling as it is insulting to the intelligence of its audience, young and old. I watched this film with my fiance's two nieces and nephew, and their reactions were one of utter boredom, confusion, and downright disappointment. When your target audience looks on confused and is visibly bored, you know that there are fundamental issues at play, and these issues were delightfully cemented by a single sentence review from the youngest of my fellow viewers in crime. Why was that rubbish? She lamented. Why indeed? From the off, the film suffers from a terrible script that leaves every single actor exposed. The dialogue and delivery of said dialogue is some of the worst I have had the displeasure of hearing. Horrifically so, in that it reminded me of the bizarre dialogue and delivery in the film The Room by Tommy Wiseau. The Room has the unnerving quality that it's so bad it's actually funny. The same cannot be said for Artemis Fowl. Dry as sandpaper and at times lacking relevance or emotional engagement, the script piles misery upon the actors, and they in turn come across even drier and much less engaged as they are forced to spout layer upon layer of exposition. Every actor becomes a vessel of pure, unadulterated exposition dumps of the highest calibre, with Josh Gad's performance and questionably gruff accent consisting primarily of a black and white interview where he describes literally everything that happens or will happen in the film. This whole interrogation setup feels entirely forced in, and it smacks of being a last-minute addition during reshoots. The script has no confidence in itself or its audience, so much so that it actively attempts to answer all of its major moments before we even get to see them. And in the end, what we see turns out to be decidedly tedious anyway, so who really cares? Barely established characters trundle through the half-baked plot and barely explained story that revolves around the need to find a mysterious MacGuffin that is also barely explained or developed upon, despite the exposition-based narration, which does nothing besides feel contrived and completely out of place. The plot flits around at immense speed, ignoring world building and character development, instead opting to cram in as much nonsense as possible inside the 90-minute runtime to create some sort of false sense of urgency and threat, which undermines anything and everything of value. The greatest crime here is that the film is just absolutely and unforgivably flat and misses the mark at every point possible, which is, to be fair, an incredibly rare feat, and one that I haven't seen in a very long time. Lackluster action, insipid scripting, terrible direction, dire acting, and a feeling that somehow this entire film slipped away from every notion of quality control. How did this film, crafted with and featuring some truly talented personnel, become this bad? Feel free to speculate amongst yourselves, but I am done here. I am done. I was done 15 minutes into the film, but I suffered through it so that you don't have to. This isn't just the biggest misfire of the year. This is one of the worst films ever made, and Disney has dodged the silver flop bullet that was clearly on a direct course for this dreary mess. One of the most horrendous movie experiences I have had. A disaster of humongous proportions with no redeeming qualities at all. I cannot think of one singular moment that stands out as being good, decent, or even fair. There is nothing for this film. It misses everything. It does nothing. All that remains in the wake of this would-be franchise starter is the reeking, tortured, and foul stench of death. And I'm going to give this the very rare, extremely rare 0 out of 10, because I just cannot recommend any part of this film. There is nothing within it that justifies 90 minutes. Absolutely nothing. I'm so glad I didn't pay to go and see this film. Yes, I'm paying the subscription for Disney Plus, but my word, this is an absolutely terrible film. 0 out of 10. Horrific. But there you have it. That's the end of this review for Artemis Fowl. Stay away from it. Save your brains. Watch something else. There you go. So what's coming up next? Well, there are quite a few films out this weekend alongside Artemis Fowl, and hopefully some of these will be much better. We have The Five Bloods, which is a very interesting looking post-Vietnam War movie. We have The King of Staten Island, directed by Judd Apatow, which I'm going to give a look at. And there is also a film coming up soon called You Should Have Left, starring Kevin Bacon. That looks like a bit of a horror film. I don't know too much about that, but all of these films are either on streaming services or available on demand, so that's where I'm looking for these. But as for this review and this video, that is all. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.